The will to power, according to Friedrich Nietzsche, is the inner drive of every force in nature. It's what makes a force, what makes it push, struggle, and overcome resistance. Without the will to power, a force would be nothing more than a quantum of energy, directionless. But the will to power gives it direction, towards growth, toward more energy, towards new resistance to overcome. And this continues until it meets another force, one driven by an even stronger will to power, and is dominated by it. This is Nietzsche's way of explaining becoming, the fundamental principle behind all change in the universe. Change happens when one force overcomes another. A stronger will to power always dominates a weaker one. The universe itself is an ever-shifting network of forces locked in a perpetual struggle, driven by this one universal principle, the will to power. But what about matter? What about the things we see, touch, and name? Matter is nothing more than a human concept, a mental construct that we created to make sense of this chaotic, dynamic world. We try to stop it, grasp it, turn it into something stable, something we can hold on to. But in reality, there are no fixed things. Only process, only movement, only change. Even the atom, the so-called building block of matter, is nothing more than a projection of our psychological need for stability. We imagine atoms the same way we imagine the self, as a permanent, independent entity that acts and causes things. But this is an illusion. Another illusion is cause and effect. That's another human invention to make sense of change. In reality, change is a continuum, an infinite flow of moments. Cause and effect are just 2 points we choose to highlight within that flow, 2 convenient markers in an endless process. They don't explain reality, they only describe it. And the same goes for our ideas of will and motive. These two are built on the false assumption that there is a separate actor behind every action. But this is just a trick of language. The grammatical structure itself habitually compels us to believe in a doer behind every deed, whereas in reality there is only doing and the doer is merely an afterthought. The will to power cuts through these illusions. It explains every event, every transformation as one force overpowering another, whether in a chemical reaction, an electrical charge, an instinctive impulse, or even a conscious decision. Even our own mind is made of these forces, what we call drives, urges, tendencies, or dispositions towards some patterns of thinking or behavior. Every action we take, and every act of mind we decide upon, is simply the result of the strongest drive within us at any given moment. It decides us, though we feel as we decide ourselves. Our feeling of self-control, that too is just another way the will to power manifests. One force attaining dominance over others in our own mind. But in truth, there is no independent subject standing apart from this struggle. There is no isolated I controlling it all. The self is not a master of these forces. The self is the struggle itself. We are the will to power, and so is nature. So is the universe. Or, in Nietzsche's own words, quote, "And do you know what the world is to me? Shall I show it to you in my mirror? This world, a monster of energy, without beginning, without end, a firm, iron magnitude of force that does not grow bigger or smaller, that does not expand itself but only transforms itself. As a whole of unalterable size, a household without expenses or losses, but likewise without increase or income, enclosed by nothingness as by a boundary. Not something blurry or wasted, not something endlessly extended, but set in a definite space as a definite force, and not a space that might be empty here or there, but rather as force throughout, as a play of forces and waves of forces, at the same time one and many, increasing here and at the same time decreasing there. A sea of forces flowing and rushing together, eternally changing, eternally flooding back, with tremendous years of recurrence, with an ebb and a flood of its forms. Out of the simplest forms striving toward the most complex, out of the stillest, most rigid, coldest forms towards the hottest, most turbulent, most self-contradictory, and then again returning home to the simple, out of this abundance, out of the play of contradictions, back to the joy of concord, still affirming itself in this uniformity of its courses and its years, blessing itself as that which must return eternally, as a becoming that knows no satiety, no disgust, no weariness. This, my Dionysian world of the eternally self-creating, the eternally self-destroying, this mystery world of the twofold voluptuous delight, my beyond good and evil, without goal, unless the joy of the circle is itself a goal, without will, unless a ring feels good will towards itself. Do you want a name for this world? A solution for all its riddles? A light for you too, you best concealed, strongest, most intrepid, most midnightly men? This world is the will to power, and nothing besides. And you yourselves are also this will to power, and nothing besides.